So today's lecture is amino acid structure and classification. First is amino acid. What is amino acid, right? So whenever we say amino acid, we have this amino group NH2, right? So this is amino group, and we have acidic group. So C double bond OH, this is acidic group, right? C double bond OH, COOH. So this is acidic group, and center one we are calling it as a alpha carbon. So whenever any carbon atom which is attached to the functional group, we call it as a alpha carbon, right? First attached carbon atom. So this one is the alpha carbon atom, and this one is a hydrogen bond, and this one is a side chain, right? R is a side chain. So basically, whenever we say amino acid, we are seeing this as a amino group. Then this one is a carboxylic group, and this one is a R group, and this one is a hydrogen group, right? So this is the structure of amino acid. How amino acid looks like. Amino acids. So these are the groups of organic compound containing two functional group, amino and carboxyl. Amino group is a basic, while carboxyl group is acidic in the nature, right? So we all know that whenever we say amino group, it is a basic in structure, and when we say carboxyl group, it is acidic structure, right? The amino acid are termed as a alpha amino acid if both carboxyl and amino groups are attached to the same carbon atom. So we already saw this carbon atom, both they are attached with this same carbon atom, and this carbon atom we are referring to as a alpha carbon atom. The alpha carbon atom binds to side chain represented by R, which is different for each amino acid found in the protein, right? So this we have around 20 amino acids in our bodies, right? And these 20 amino acids, they are different. Each is different, and the differences are because of the this R group, right? This R group causes differences in the amino acid. So R group is different in each of the 20 amino acids, right? Next, if a carbon atom is attached to four different groups, it is called asymmetric, and therefore exhibit the optical isomerism. Okay, so central carbon atom we have in our amino acid which are attached. If it is attached with a different amino acid, we call it as a asymmetric carbon atom. And if it is asymmetric, it will be exhibiting the optical isomerism. So, for example, all amino acids except the glycine have the optical isomer. So, all amino acid. So this one is a central carbon atom, and this one is a amino group, carboxyl group, hydrogen atom, and the R group, right? So in this one, this group is different, this group is different, this group is different. Three group at least are different in each amino acid. Now, if here CS3 group is attached, then different amino acid is being made, and all four group are different. In that case, these amino acids are asymmetric, right? And if what happened in the glycine, this R group is H. So H means one H we have here, another hydrogen atom again if we have here, then this one doesn't give the isomerism, means this is not asymmetric then. Okay, so most of amino acids are found in the ionized form in the biological system. So this one is an amino acid, and now normally when we see in the biological system or our body fluids, then in that case this amino group is the positively charged, right? So this one is a positively charged, you can see here, and this one is a negatively charged. Okay, so amino group is a positively charged, carboxyl group is negatively charged, and this R group is different in each amino acid, right? So whenever we say amino acid, the amino acid is represented by the 1 letter and the 3 letter code, right? So this one is a 1 letter code for amino acid, this is 3 letter code for amino acid, and this is a full name. Okay, so whenever we say alanine is represented by ALA, first 3 letters of this amino acid. So, and ALA is a 3 letter code, and capital A is the alanine. Whenever we say glycine we take first three letters of glycine and we represent it as a G. So first G. Isoleucine, ILE. So ILE, isoleucine, and we represent it as a L, I, leucine, LEU, and we represent it as a capital L. Valine, VAL, we represent as a capital V. Methionine is represented by the MET, and we represent it as a capital M as a single letter codon. Phenylalanine, first three letter we take and we refer to as a F. Okay, why we are not referring to as a P, phenylalanine? Because already one more amino acid is the proline, which is represented by the PRO and capital P. So already P is used. So for phenylalanine, by phonetic, we are using as a capital F. Tryptophan, TRP, again here we are using W. Okay, because T is already used in one more place, 309. So because of this, instead of T, we are using tryptophan. Okay. Next, proline, already we saw P. Cysteine is represented by capital C, serine by capital S, 309 by capital T. Tyrosine, again T is used here. So here tyrosine, Y we are representing capital Y as a single letter codon. Asparagine, we represent it by as a N, because already A we have used here, like alanine. So next letter we found for it is the asparagine, capital M. Glutamine, GLN is a three letter code, and the Q is the one letter code. Histidine, capital H is a code for the histidine. Lysine again we are representing as a K, capital K. Arginine as a capital R. Aspartic acid as a capital D. Glutamic acid as a capital E. Okay, so this one is taken from the ENCPI. So short links are sometimes given to present from this source it is taken. Okay, so these are the different letter code for the amino acids. Classifications of amino acid. Amino acids are classified based on the R group. So at the start, we saw one amino acid slide, and for example, this one is the simplest amino acid. Amino group, carboxyl group, alpha carbon atom, and this one is a R group. So in case of glycine, R group is a H. In alanine, R group is a CS3. Valine, CS3, CH, CS3. Likewise, R groups are there, right? So based on this R group, we can classify amino acid as a non-polar aliphatic R group. So these are the non-polar and the aliphatic R group, right? So these all are the non-polar. This is the non-polar group. This is non-polar group. This one is a isoleucine also. This one is also a non-polar group, right? So this one are the non-polar groups. Next is a polar uncharged R group. So when we say polar, we have OH group here. So polarity means we have OH group. Polarity means it will interact with the water. So we have serine, 309. We can see OH group here. Cysteine again is different, but it is non-polar. It has a sulfhydryl group, right? And proline. Proline is a particular amino acid which is a circular in the structure, right? Its backbone is not straight like this. So it has a imino group actually inside it, right? Likewise, we have asparagine, glutamine. So these amino acids are the polar amino acid. Next, we have aromatic amino acids. So this aromatic means benzene ring containing group. So we have this benzene ring in this one. So this one is called as aromatic amino acid. Phenylalanine. Tyrosine again is a aromatic R group containing compound, tyrosine. So this one is a again aromatic group. You can see there is a OH group also in this amino acid, like serine, right? Next we have a tryptophan. Again, benzene ring is there. Next, positively charged amino acid includes the lysine. So we can see here COOH, C, CH2, 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 and at the end we have plus NH3 group, right? Plus NH3 group means that it has a positive charge on it, right? This amino acid. Next we have arginine. Arginine also we can see here is a positive charge. Amino group, two amino groups are there. Arginine, histidine, we can see the NH group is there, and because of this, it has a it is categorized as a positively charged amino acid, right? Even in amino acid, we saw that amino group is a positively charged and carboxyl group is a negatively charged. So when we say positive amino positively and carboxyl negatively, so if our amino acid has an extra carboxylic group, right? Already this carboxylic group is present in all amino acid, but we have extra carboxylic amino acid. It means that this is a negatively charged group. We call it as a aspartate. So this one is a aspartate and this one is a glutamate. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 carbon atom amino acid with the extra carboxylic group is the aspartate, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 carbon amino acid with extra carboxylic group is a glutamate, right? So this is overall the structures of the amino acids, right? 20 amino acids, how it looks look like. Basically, if you observe carefully, we have this slide, and these slides, all the structure are in the black except red highlighted background structure, right? So these structures are highlighted. It means that this is the R group, right? When we say amino acid, each R group classified based on the R group. So we can see we have different R group, and based on that R groups, we are classifying our amino acids into different groups. So based on R group, how we can classify non-polar aliphatic amino acid. The R group in this class of amino acid are the non-polar and hydrophobic, right? So non-polar means it does not have polarity, and hydrophobic means phobia means fear, right? And hydro means water. So this amino acid, non-polar aliphatic amino acid, they have the fear of the water. Means this is one amino acid and this is second amino acid, and they are in the water environment. Both are in the water environment. Then they are hydrophobic. What hydrophobic amino acid tends to do? They will come together, and they after coming together, they will try to avoid the contact with the water. Right? That is the concept of the hydrophobicity. So we saw the glycine, alanine, valine, leucine, isoleucine, methionine, and proline. These are the non-polar, right? Because of their aliphatic chain, these are the non-polar amino acid. They try to avoid the water. Next, aromatic amino acid, phenylalanine, tyrosine, tryptophan with the aromatic side chain are relatively non-polar. Okay, so this phenylalanine, tyrosine, tryptophan, these have aromatic side chain and they are relatively non-polar, and they are also the hydrophobic, right? We saw this phenylalanine, tyrosine.
हॅलो सर. हॅलो
कुठं गेले रे सर?
सर गेले
अरे
घरी.
सर, अबे सर कुठं गायब झाले? हॅलो
ऑफलाईन गेलो.
सर तर नीट चालना चाललंय बरोबर.
बोलो
चला
आजू.
फ्लाईट मोडवर टाकायला सांगायला पाहिजे होतं. हॅलो Hello, sir. Hello. Hello.
Hello, hello,
Can you see the presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
In
sir.
between, like we go, right? So we'll start. So aromatic amino acids, threonine, tyrosine, tryptophan, with their aromatic side chain are relatively non-polar hydrophobic. Okay, so again, this amino acid are the hydrophobics, means they will try to interact with each other, right? They can participate in the hydrophobic interaction. So, for example, this blue is the water molecule, and this orange is the hydrophobic molecule, right? So, what happens if you put the hydrophobic molecule in the water? The all water molecule will try to surround the this hydrophobic molecule. Again, this is the second hydrophobic molecule, and so this one is the second hydrophobic molecule. This one is the first. So this orange group, is being surrounded by this blue water molecule, right? So the concept of hydrophobicity tells us that whenever we have two hydrophobic molecules, they will try to interact each other. Why they will try to interact each other? Water, right? So what happens here? Extra water molecules are there. If they interact, they can avoid the water molecules. So that is why they are two are interacting with each other, right? That is the concept of hydrophobicity. And this concept of hydrophilicity is very important in the case of protein molecule. So what happens is that this is a isolated protein. The red is a hydrophobic phobic region, and blue is the hydrophilic region, right? So this blue region amino acid, they love the water, and this region amino acid, they don't love the water, right? So what happens? The protein will fold in such a way that this hydrophobic amino acid, they will try to minimize the contact with the water. So now this amino acid has folded in such a way that it has minimized the contact with the water molecule. So all they are together, and water molecule are on the outside surface, right? So this amino acid, now they can interact with the water because they are already water loving, and those who don't love the water, they will try to avoid the interaction with the water, right? So that is the very important thing for hydrophobic interaction. The polar uncharged amino acid, the R group of this amino acid are more soluble in water and more hydrophilic than those of the non-polar amino acid because they contain the functional group that form the hydrogen bond with the water. Okay, so these amino acids, the polar amino acids, they will form the functional group. They have functional group, for example, serine, threonine, cysteine, asparagine, glutamine. For example, this serine has an extra OH group which will form the hydrogen bond with the water, and that is why these are the polar amino acids, and they will be easily soluble in the water, right? If you put the serine in the water, it will immediately be solubilized, right? But if you put other amino acid, hydrophobic amino acids, they will try to clump together, and they won't dissolve easily in the water, right? Acidic amino acids are there. Acidic amino acid in which the R group is acidic or negatively charged. Okay, so this one is a glutamic acid and aspartic acid. The 5-carbon acid and the 4-carbon. This glutamic acid and aspartic acid, they have extra COH bond, right? The carboxyl group extra is present in this amino acid. That is why we call it as a acidic amino acid. The basic amino acid, the amino acid with the R group is a basic and positively charged. We saw lysine, arginine, and histidine. These are the positively charged amino acid. So basically, this all structure-based classification was based on the structure, right? R group structure. If R group structure is a hydrophobic, we classify it accordingly. If it is the OH group is present, we call it as a polar. If extra COH bond is present, we call it as a acidic amino acid. If amino group is present, we call it as a basic amino acid. So that is a structure-based R group structure-based classification. And this is a classification of amino acid based on nutrition. So we call it as a essential amino acid, conditionally non-essential, and non-essential amino acid. So whenever amino acids are there, whether amino acids can be synthesized in the body or not, based on this, we can classify it as an essential amino acid. So these are the essential amino acid. for example, 9 amino acid cannot be synthesized in the body and must be present in the diet in order for protein synthesis to occur, right? So whenever essential amino acids are there, it means that these amino acids are not synthesized in the body. They are not being synthesized in the body, means we have to take them from outside, right? So that is why they are called as a essential amino acid. These essential amino acids include the histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, threonine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and the valine. So sometimes people make AV helium PTT, short form for also, right? Arginine is sometimes considered as a conditionally essential in that one, AV helium. These are the amino acid: histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. Non-essential amino acid means these amino acids can be synthesized in the body itself and hence not necessarily needed to be acquired to the diet. So whenever we say non-essential amino acid, it means that they are not essential. Why they are not essential? Something is not essential because you already have capacity to make these amino acids, right? So that is why these amino acids are categorized as a non-essential. These include arginine, glutamine, tyrosine, cysteine, glycine, proline, serine, ornithine, alanine, asparagine, and aspartate. Right? These are the amino acids. So this one is ornithine is an amino acid which is found in sometime in the urea cycle. But basically, we consider 20 mainly when we consider the protein building up, right? So this diagrammatically you see these are the essential amino acid: histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and the valine. These are the non-essential: alanine, asparagine, aspartate, glutamate, serine, and this is conditionally. Sometimes we have to supply in the diet to maintain the level, like arginine, cysteine, uh, glutamine, glycine, proline, and the tyrosine, right? So that is the concept of essential amino acid and non-essential amino acid. So amino acid is classified based on R group structure. Now they have been classified based on the essentiality, whether they are essential or not. Likewise, amino acids can be classified based on the metabolic rate, right? So when we say metabolic rate, amino acids can be glucogenic, they can be glucogenic and ketogenic, and they can be ketogenic amino acid, right? So what we mean by glucogenic? The glucogenic means these amino acids can convert some part of their structure into the glucose. So that is why they are called as a glucogenic. And ketogenics means they can convert some part of their structure into the ketone bodies, that is the ketogenic, right? So this alanine, arginine, asparagine, aspartate, asparagine, cysteine, methionine, glutamate, glutamine, glycine, histidine, proline, serine, threonine, valine. They are categorized as a glucogenic amino acid. Under the both glucogenic and ketogenic means this amino acid can give glucose as well as a ketogenic, like acetate molecule, right? So tyrosine, isoleucine, phenylalanine, and the tryptophan. These are the categories as a both. Then we have ketogenic amino acid like leucine and the lysine. They exclusively secrete can synthesize the keto group, right? They won't synthesize the glucose. So this leucine and lysine is important that they don't undergo conversion into the glucose. They only undergo the ketogenic conversion. So glucogenic amino acids means the amino acids serves as a precursor of gluconeogenesis for the glucose formation. So how glucogenic amino acid undergo glucose formation? So next semester, next unit test, unit 2, you will say gluconeogenesis, right? So means if your body is having the low glucose level, in that case, amino acid can be act as a precursor in the gluconeogenesis cycle. Gluconeogenesis is a cycle in which the glucose molecule is being synthesized from the this non-carbohydrate sources, right? Like glucogenic amino acid is there, and from amino acid also you can synthesize the glucose. That is a glucogenic amino acid. These amino acid undergoes which undergoes such transformation. We call it as a glucogenic amino acid. ketogenic amino acid, this amino acid break down to form the ketone bodies, right? So we have acetoacetate, beta hydroxybutyrate. These are the ketone bodies. Whenever we don't eat for a long time, like in the starvation, body needs some energy, right? And this energy is being taken in the form of the ketogenic amino acid, right? Body produces the ketone body. So if we are starving or animal is starving for a long time, in that case, this animal's protein will break down and it will undergo to form the ketone bodies, right? So that is a ketogenic amino acid. So we have seen leucine and lysine exclusively ketogenic amino acid. Both glucogenic and ketogenic amino acids, these are breakdown to form the precursor for the ketone bodies as well as the glucose, right? So these are the amino acids which form glucose as well as the ketone bodies, right? So this classification, function of amino acid. So when we say amino acid, how it is being cut, what is function of amino acid? So we have here animal model. So its muscles mostly made up of the these muscle molecules are made up of the protein molecule, right? So this one is there. Milk protein is there. Our brain, nervous system is there. Nervous system also the many molecules are being made up of the these amino acids, right? Epinephrine, norepinephrine, uh, uh, dopamine, serotonin. These molecules are being made up of the amino acids, right? So, and when we say this muscle is made up of protein, when we say protein, the protein molecule is basically the chain of amino acids linked together. If you see the primary structure, the chain of amino acid links together is the structure of the protein molecule, right? So that is why this is a function of the protein. In particular, 20 very important amino acids are the crucial for the life as they contain the peptides and the proteins and known to be a building blocks of all living things, right? So we already discussed 20 amino acid, very important. If you any protein we have to synthesize in our body, we need these amino acids, right? The linear sequence of amino acid in a polypeptide determines the three-dimensional configuration of the protein, and the structure of the protein determines its function. Okay, so any function, bodily function is there in our body. So, for example, you are eating some sugar molecules. So, some sugar you are eating, and it has to be get digested. Means it will require some enzyme, right? These enzymes are made up of protein molecule, and when we say these are enzymes are made up of protein molecule, again this is a polypeptide chain has been molded into particular three-dimensional structure, and if this three-dimensional structure is maintained, then only protein can function, right? And we already saw amino acid. Why we saw amino acid? This hydrophobicity, hydrophilicity, because in order to determine three-dimensional structure, for example, this hydrophobicity is one of the criteria, right? Hydrophobic amino acid will come in the core region of this protein, and the hydrophilic will stay outside, right? So that is the criteria. The amino acids are used by the tissues to synthesize the protein and produce the nitrogen-containing compound. So purines, heme, creatinine, and the epinephrine, these compounds, they can be produced from the amino acids, right? For purines, whenever we see nucleotides, DNA, RNA, we will see. In that case, the purines is the important molecule. Heme, during oxygen transport, this molecule is important. Creatinine for extra energy reservoir in the body. This molecule is determined. Creatinine, we are using this creatinine molecule for determining the kidney function also. Epinephrine. So whenever some fight or flight, for example, if an animal is under the stress, in that case, this epinephrine molecule is being synthesized, right? And this molecule is known in fight or flight. So our nervous system is very connected with this amino acid. If we have this particular amino acid, if it can synthesize the epinephrine, then animal can respond to the stress. It is a very good response that animal can respond to stress, right? So it can maintain the life. So epinephrine. Amino acids are imperative for sustaining the health of a human body. They are largely promote the structure of muscle. Muscle structure we saw. Human nervous system, healthy function, human as well as animals nervous system function. So health of vital organs, we have liver, spleen, heart, these vital organs you have to maintain, we need proper amino acids, right? Because most of cell structures also are made up of the amino acid, and intense means it is made up of contains the proteins, right? If protein balance in amino acid balance is good, then this protein can be synthesized. The normal cellular structure maintenance requires this amino acid. Production of hormones requires these amino acids. The breakdown of both dietary and the tissue proteins yields nitrogen-containing substrate and the carbon skeleton. Okay. If you break down dietary and tissue proteins, we will get the nitrogen-containing substrate and the carbon skeleton. Nitrogen-containing substrates are used in the biosynthesis of purine, pyrimidine, neurotransmitter, hormones, porphyrins, and non-essential amino acid. Okay, so if amino acid is being broken down, we have amino group in this nitrogen, and this nitrogen group, nitrogen-containing substrates can be used in the synthesis of purines, right? Adenosine, guanosine, or pyrimidines like cytosine, thymine, uracil. Likewise, it can use neurotransmitter porphyrins. Okay, porphyrin is a part of hemoglobin. The carbon skeleton is used as a fuel source in the TCA cycle, citric acid cycle, used for the gluconeogenesis or used in the fatty acid synthesis. So we saw amino acid can be out of amino acid, amino group can be used for the purine pyrimidine synthesis. Carboxyl group or carbon skeleton, this can be used for the synthesis of the gluconeogenesis or in the fatty acid synthesis, right? So these are the references. Thank you.